Let's clear up technology. Right-wing satire post about Leah Thomas goes viral, but doesn't check out. SpaceX Mania published an article claiming that Leah Thomas, an American swimmer who rose to fame after becoming the first openly transgender woman to win the NCAA Division I National Championship in 2022, had been denied the right to participate in the 2024 Olympics, claiming that the Olympic Committee didn't want a cheater. But in reality, this was absolutely not true. SpaceX Mania describes its output as being humorous or satirical in nature. The article notifies readers to be cautious and use their own judgment while reading and interpreting the satirical articles. However, when SpaceX Mania Facebook account posted the story, it garnered 22,000 likes and hundreds of transphobic comments, many praising the Olympic Committee for their decision. The International Olympics Committee is fine with Thomas competing in Paris Games next year, but the sport's governing body has barred transgender swimmers from competing in major women's events, including the Olympics. It has instead proposed an open category allowing for trans competitors, but nothing is official. Okay, I got something to say about this. Look, I understand that you might find it to be satirical and funny, but even when I clicked on the article, it was not clear that it was satirical and funny, and your guidelines are absolutely irresponsible. Just putting it out there. What you did also put someone's life at jeopardy, and as someone who has an LGBTQ nonprofit, we are not surprised to see nothing but hateful comments on social media because people can hide from there. It's not brave, it's not bold, and it's not news. But on a serious conversation, when it comes to actually having sports, I was talking to a good friend of mine about this just 2 days ago after our last broadcast. And I want to first remind people that women could not compete in organized sports in the Olympics until 1922, I want to say is what it was. So it wasn't that long ago that women couldn't be considered athletes or actually have any form of sports, and that was sanctioned by any official body. So it was not that long ago. It was 100 years. 100 years, people. Now, the argument that my friends like to make was, yes, well, if there's a boxer, they're so much bigger and they're trans, how can a trans boxer compete against a biological woman? Well, first and foremost, we're not getting the full story with any of these official athletes. I want to make sure this is clear. First and foremost, the medical history behind a trans individual, when they actually go on testosterone or estrogen, their body composition changes. And after 3 years, many things are different, including bone density and muscle mass. So then that's not going out there, and not enough people hear about that. So number one, how long have they been transitioning? Second of all, if you decide to make a separate category for trans individuals, as has been proposed, well, first of all, there aren't enough competitors out there for them to actually compete against. And you're also segregating them to make them targets for other people to hurt, abuse, and otherwise maim. And why would you want to compete with no one? That's why you're an athlete. You want to actually have competition, right? Now, not all sports are done as something that is a one-on-one competition. Some of them are done by time, sports, races, for example. But the answer may not be in having its own separate category, but in these open categories that you would have. In ballroom and Latin dancing, we do have open competition where it is not gender specific, where you have male students competing against female students and the best dancers win. Now, that being said, not every sport is like that. And it's not up to one blanket community to say this is what's got to be for everybody. But every sport does have professionals that have the insight and the expertise to adapt their guidelines to be more open and inclusive. This is not going to go away. Why not make your sport better by having more perspectives and more inclusion so that people can actually perform better? Why be scared? We're just evolving.
But like to your point, like you said, separate is never equal. You can't have this little subcategory or tournament. And to your point, Jacob, I think that I think ballroom dancing is a lot more like tennis in that like they have the mixed doubles competition, and as opposed to what they're trying to do here at the Olympics or in international swimming, which is it's team sport, but it's also a very individual sport.
You're competing against yourself in the clock.
It's essentially, yeah. So I think that's it's a hair to be split, and I clearly don't have a lot of hairs to split.
That's why I said there are different types of sports. There are subjective sports like figure skating, gymnastics, ballroom, and Latin dancing. There's competitive contact sports. There's also sports against the clock. So there are various forms of the sport. But again, like I said, it's not up for me to determine what's going to be best for boxing or swimming. But there are professionals within that arena that do have the insight and the expertise to adapt the rules to be more inclusive.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Hauser.
Oh,
I'm sorry. No. Go.
I was just gonna mention also that intersex people also exist too. So what categories do they fit in? I mean, there's have already been, and this mostly happens in POC, like to POC women. A lot of them have this intersex condition that's caused by PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, where they literally produce more testosterone than the average like female or whatnot. They've literally been barred from the Olympic Games just because they have more testosterone than their other biologically female competitors, but they're still the same sex.
Right. And there are a lot of, and I don't want this to sound diminutive anyway, but there are a lot of quirks that you have to work out through. There are a lot of scenarios that will have to be worked out. But first, we just have to decide or recognize the equality of men and women. And trans men are men, trans women are women.
Correct.
And that is just it. Mark, I want to bring you in.
I mean, just on a more kind of personal side of this, how many times does she need her name, her story, and her picture just being dragged through really negative media like this? I mean, my heart just goes out to her. As I don't think that this is satirical or that this is funny, kind of bringing back to your point, because she is the center of the conversation, already being made fun of and getting these weird suggestions of an other category. We just need to ask the people involved and who know, and them what they would like, not come up with our own ideas for let's do this category or that category. I just wonder why this isn't considered libel or slanderous. And I know that they're using the satire comedy excuse, but when that's a person who's already being beat up in the public light,
it becomes cyberbullying.
Then it becomes a bullying issue, and I don't think that that comedic exemption should apply.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would also like to say, in addition to like intersex people, like you were saying, we need to establish that men and women are equal. I mean, we literally just banned trans women from playing in chess competitions.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Chess?
Chess. And if you're literally banning trans women from, like, what are you trying to say? That people assigned male at birth are smarter than people assigned female at birth? Everybody just has different.
But this is good. This is good, because when they ban something like chess, where there's no obvious, advantage going either way, they're really just showing their cards.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't claim that this is equality or that you're trying to preserve women's identity or whatever other weird arguments they're trying to come up. This is just bigotry.
It absolutely is. And before we can fight the hate on the streets, we need to fight the hate at these governing bodies, the ones that are going to control the sport, because that's just not going to change. The power structure isn't going to change. The way they interpret the athletes as who they are, that is what needs to change.